Coming to you from the 2015 Brass Expo. We're here with John Gurdak. Now, many of you may know John from Uncle Dave's Trains, and he's been a brass aficionado for many years. John, I got to ask you, and I've wondered, why are you John Gurdak and your business is called Uncle Dave's Trains?
Well, that's pretty simple. My favorite railroad is the Denver and Salt Lake in Colorado, which was founded by David Moffett, the Colorado Railroad pioneer. So my business is named in honor of David Moffett.
There you have it. Now you say that's simple, but I wouldn't have guessed that. So that's great. John, one of the things in talking to you through the years is I know you've got a real passion for the early hand-built trains.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you first got into the hobby, when you first seen some of those, and why you love them so much?
Well, I first got into the hobby when I was a kid. I had a layout when I was a kid, got a railroad set for Christmas, and just really enjoyed trains from the time I was a little kid. What got me into brass was a trip to Colorado. I went up on the Moffett Road.
Okay.
Took the Jeep up to the top of Rollins Pass, and really thought it would be a neat railroad to model. And when I started looking for Denver and Salt Lake trains, I didn't know about brass at the time. So I realized that I couldn't find them in plastic, but they were available in this thing called brass. So that's how I started learning and educating myself about brass, and I bought some of the Denver and Salt Lake prototypes that were done in brass.
Wonderful. Now, how about the hand-builts, though? When did you start learning about those?
Well, that developed later. I really don't remember exactly when that happened, but that was probably was inspired by Richard Knopf's auction at Sotheby's in New York. I attended the auction. I was at the preview when his extensive crown collection was being displayed, and I just became fascinated by the models.
Right. Richard Knopf was a friend of both of ours who unfortunately passed away a little over a year ago, but he had amassed a beautiful crown collection, some of the early hand belts. I know I flipped through the old Sotheby's quite often, and I have the prices they went for, and it is quite fascinating. So what are some of the things you've noted with the craftsmanship of those models, though? Well,
the one thing that really I prefer the unpainted models, and the unpainted models really exhibit the handwork that goes into the models.
Right.
Nowadays, the new models being imported are painted, and the paint, hides the look of the brass that's underneath it. The earlier models that are unpainted, you could actually see the work that was done by the craftsmen. The boiler shells were formed by hand. They would use a wooden dowel, which had the basic contour of the boiler shell. They'd put a piece of brass over it, and they'd use a scribing tool to mold the brass, and you could see that workmanship. You can see the scratches in the brass that evidence the hand craftsmanship of the model, as opposed to a piece of sheet brass being placed underneath a press and stamped down by a machine. That's what really attracts me to those models, because they were truly hand-built, true hand craftsmanship, and really exhibit a lost art.
Right. And I know with today's models, we're seeing some beautiful pieces. There's still a lot of handwork that goes into them. And I think a lot of the collectors and operators and just people that want the truest representation of a train like the factory painted, but there is a charisma about those original unpainted little works of art, are they not?
Really, all of the brass models are hand-built. They can't be assembled by a machine.
And thanks for bringing that out,
but
yes.
It's, whether they're the new ones from China and South Korea or the old ones from Japan, they're all hand-built. It's just a matter of how much craftsmanship goes into it, and the fact that the early hand-builts were, for the most part, built by one person.
Right, amazing.
And you know his name.
Yeah.
And he's a Japanese gentleman who's long departed us, and it's a lost craft that's really the the most interesting part of those early models.
Right. Well, John, thanks so much for taking a few minutes
Okay,
with
my
us,
pleasure.
sharing your passion. We see it when you take beautiful photographs. Your passion's evident in that.
Thank
and
you.
so thank you.
Thanks very much.
Great to have you. Thanks,
Okay.
John.